Here are 5 times infectious diseases escaped from the laboratory containment. It's an iconic global security threat, but facilities meant to prevent and cure disease have sometimes aided in its spread. There's anthrax in a petri dish. For instance, the Center for Disease Control made headlines last month when an estimated 84 of its scientists were exposed to a live and potentially deadly strain of anthrax. A second probe into the incident has discovered a number of additional lapses in the CDC's handling of the situation, including the use of expired disinfectant, the transportation of dangerous materials in Ziploc bags, and the storage of anthrax in unlocked refrigerator and unrestricted hallways. Okay, here's the list, the 5 escapes, and it comes from the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, which, by the way, are the same people that have the doomsday clock, and the doomsday clock went off right as the Chinese virus hit. It's just a coincidence. The 1977 H1N1 human influenza pandemic. Due to lab mishandling, a strain of the H1 influenza managed to escape from a Chinese facility, folks, that was likely trying to create a vaccine for the disease. The virus spread globally and had an infection rate of 20% to 70% among those exposed. Luckily, the strain of virus caused only mild diseases and few fatalities. The smallpox outbreak in Great Britain from 63 to 78, 3 smallpox escapes from 2 different laboratories. 1995 Venezuelan encephalitis outbreak. 10,000 people in Venezuela and 75,000 in Colombia fell ill from a VEE strain that escaped from a lab. Various SARS outbreaks. Severe acute respiratory syndrome was a global epidemic in 2003 that caused 8,000 infections and 774 deaths across 29 countries. Since the original epidemic, there have been 6 escapes of the virus. And you're telling me it's not a possibility that this is what is happening in Wuhan today? There have been six escapes of the virus from laboratories, 4 in Beijing, and an additional 1 here in Singapore and Taiwan. The 2007 foot and mouth outbreak in the UK. Highly transmittable disease can cost billions of dollars in economic damage, as millions of animals may need to be culled to limit the deep disease's spread. And yes, millions of animals were culled. This is the world we're living in, folks. In Australia, they said 1 billion animals were killed in the wildfires, and I'll get to that in a minute. In 2007, it became infected. The virus escaped from a biosafety lab 4 kilometers away. Outbreak required 1,500 animals to be culled. I remember it being much more than that. Okay, now let's go. Let me get this off. I'll show you the latest news that I have here. And I really urge you to read these stories. My top one on the homepage, the only thing you need to know: who is causing the national and global chaos? And it's not who you think it is. China mystery virus or government biological warfare, bioterrorism against civilians. Right here I have the history of government-sponsored biowarfare terrorism. Mainstream media won't touch it. Bush Jr. talked about quarantining parts of America. You can watch the video right here. Okay, here's the latest breaking news from the Los Angeles Times. This new coronavirus was preventable. We haven't learned. Virus hit Wuhan has 2 laboratories linked to the Chinese biowarfare program. Okay, now I want to get into what I believe is going on here. You're looking at basically World War III unfolding before us, and people can't even see it. World War III is when an attack on civilians is not an attack. And I'm going to give you 3 examples of what I think's going on all over the world. This outbreak is 56 million people's lives thrown into terror and being traumatized. It's no mistake. It's being done on purpose. The 3 things, the major things I want to say is this outbreak, the Australian wildfires, the Brazil wildfires, all set on purpose. Type in arson on any of your search engines and you will find arsonists everywhere. I live in California, and here's what happened to us in California during the wildfires. The power company is starting the fires with sparking wires, and then they turn off our power. The last time they did it, they turned off power to 250,000 people, and as soon as they turned off the power, one of their power lines started a wildfire. These are not accidents, folks. And mass shootings is the last one. Mass shootings are not just random shootings. They're the powers that be creating chaos. Now, I'm generally speaking here, folks, just generally speaking. But it's my view that this is a deliberate attack and an attempt to control people and to condition us to get used to this as the way of life, the way it's going to be, the new normal. That's the word they use, the new normal. And as long as I'm here, let me give you some more information here, just to show you what these psychopaths who are running this planet are doing. Let me see, humanitarian, forget, oh yeah. This one's under important news. Human activity is killing the earth and us. And the title of it is Forget Climate Change. It's humans that are killing the earth. They act like climate is doing this. Well, guess who's changing the climate? Humans. Okay, I have it all ends up in the ground, water, and air. Everything we do. Here's worldwide radioactive waste all around the world. And we wonder why things aren't going right. Here's pesticide saturation of farmland worldwide. It all comes back to the ground, the air, what was the last one? And the water. Next up is industrial waste and pollution on a massive, massive scale. Here's car exhaust, 1.5 billion cars on the road. Rocket fuel is nasty stuff. This has been going on 100 years now, folks. 100 years, 24/7. And we wonder why things are not right. Contrails have over 2,000 chemicals from the Washington Post. Look at this saturation. This is something mainstream media will never talk about. Look at this. 24/7 for 70 to 100 years over the globe. Where does all that jet fuel go? It goes to the ground and could, in theory, even be an accelerant for wildfires. And we wonder why things are not right. Ocean dead zones. Wonder why the planet's dying, why animals are dying. It's all being done on purpose by the psychopathic powers that be. 2.12 billion tons of trash every year. Here's a long list of environmental disasters. Biological warfare, which is what's taking place in Wuhan, China. Okay, let me go back here. You can find all that information on important world news. I hope I've been able to show you how things are not what they seem. Here's important world news right here. And for people watching, this is Wuhan, China right here. Yes, this China thing is a huge, huge story, and I'm not going to stop reporting on it. Just place yourself, all you have to do is place yourself in Wuhan and imagine what they're going through. And do whatever you can to expose this. The government has thrown 56 million people into chaos, traumatizing them, terrorizing them, all in the name of a humanitarian effort. Place yourself in Wuhan and then get out and act. Do something. It's not a conspiracy theory. You have a U.S. president talking about quarantining parts of America. Quit watching the movies. This is reality. We'll talk to y'all soon.